Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist. Tonight, we drift downward, not into the sky or the silence of space, but into the gentle blue world beneath the waves, where light softens, water's warm, and life moves in soul, rippling grace. Here, in the quiet shallows of tropical seas, lies a living architecture more ancient than many forests, and more intricate than any city humans have ever designed. This is the realm of coral reefs, not cold or rigid, but vibrant and breathing, shaped by countless tiny builders that work with patience and harmony to create underwater sanctuaries of color and calm. Before we begin, let your shoulders relax, let your jaw loosen, and allow your breath to find its natural cadence, slow and unforced, as though you too are floating in calm water. Let today fall gently away from your mind, like a leaf sinking through clear blue shallows. Here, there's no hurry, no sharpness of thought, no weight of memory, only the soft rhythms of life beneath the surface, where fish drift like thoughts in a quiet mind, and coral branches sway like slow dreams. Imagine yourself descending into clear water as sunlight filters from above in ribbons of gold. Around you, corals rise from the ocean floor like delicate trees of stone, their surfaces textured with tiny patterns, every ridge and fold shaped by patience. Schools of fish move past like flowing tapestries, each scale catching light in muted flashes. Nothing here moves with hurry. Everything dances with unhurried purpose. The water carries sound away until only a soft hush remains, the hush of breathing, of drifting, of simply existing. Tonight, we will sink gently into this underwater calm, letting these reefs teach us about slowness, about balance, and about quiet beauty. So if you wish, close your eyes now, let your breath deepen one more degree, and allow this peaceful seascape to open in your imagination. This is the most relaxing facts about coral reefs to fall asleep. Let's begin. Beneath warm tropical waters, coral reefs form living cities, built slowly by countless tiny organisms, each contributing a fraction of the whole, as though the ocean itself were patiently weaving stone from sunlight and salt. These corals are not plants or rocks, but colonies of living creatures, small, soft-bodied beings that build calcium skeletons around themselves for protection. Over decades and centuries, these delicate structures rise and expand, merging with neighboring colonies until entire underwater landscapes emerge intricate mazes of arches, ridges, and hidden alcoves. To drift above a reef is to float over a world crafted through gentle, continuous creation, a slow construction that mirrors the rhythms of deep and timeless calm. When sunlight penetrates ocean waters above a reef, it breaks into gentle beams, shifting into soft shafts that flicker and widen as they meet moving currents. This filtered light settles over the corals like a luminous veil, giving the entire landscape a drowsy glow. The reef becomes a dreamlike garden of subdued colors, not bright, not harsh, but softened by water into pastel tones of peach, lavender, pale amber, and gentle aqua. Fish glide through these beams like drifting petals, catching hints of light on their scaled bodies. This quiet interplay between water and sun makes the reef feel warm, slow, and meditative, as though the ocean were breathing with light. Coral reefs are home to an astonishing diversity of life, thousands of species of fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and countless microscopic organisms. Yet the ecosystem feels harmonious rather than chaotic. Every creature seems to know its place and pace. Tiny fish nibble algae from coral branches. Larger fish weave slowly through narrow channels, and graceful rays hover above sandy floors like living shadows. This silent choreography feels almost intentional, a gentle ballet of survival and coexistence where movement is unhurried and sound is nearly absent, replaced by the soothing hush of water. The surface of coral skeletons is filled with intricate grooves and textures, each ridge a record of growth through seasons and tides. Running fingers across these surfaces, if one could without harm, would feel like tracing patterns etched with purpose, as though the reef itself carried written history in tactile form. These structures provide shelter, nourishment, and pathways for life, acting like the roots and branches of an underwater forest. To imagine their formation, layer by tiny layer, offers a sense of deep patience, of nature shaping beauty through quiet persistence rather than force. At night, when darkness settles over the ocean and sunlight fades away, the reef transforms from subtle color to an almost mystical realm. Many corals and marine organisms begin to fluoresce, emitting faint glows of neon green, violet, and blue. It is not a bright light, but a soft radiance that pulses gently from within their tissues. This nocturnal illumination turns the reef into a star field. Beneath the waves, a cosmic mirror glowing in the darkness. The fish move slower, the water cools, and the entire reef seems to exhale into sleep. Corals themselves are deeply sensitive to water temperature and clarity, requiring conditions of balance and calm to thrive. When the water warms gently, they flourish. But when heat becomes excessive or pollutants intrude, they pale, losing color, in a quiet warning that the equilibrium is slipping. Even in distress, however, the corals respond not with sudden collapse, but with gradual fading, as though conveying their pain through sorrow rather than alarm. This fragility adds to their tenderness, making the reef feel like a living tapestry that must be touched only by the gentlest conditions. Certain coral polyps extend their tiny tentacles at night, reaching into the water to feed. These tentacles sway in slow currents like miniature sea anemones, catching microscopic organisms drifting past. In these moments, the coral is a creature rather than a structure, a living being, quietly consuming nourishment in darkness. Watching their slow, rhythmic movements would feel like observing a cluster of tiny, soft hands gathering food with delicate intention. These nocturnal rituals remind us that even the stillest structures hold gentle life inside them. Parrotfish, with their gentle, grinding mouths, play an essential role in reef health by nibbling dead coral and algae, keeping surfaces clean for new growth. Their feeding creates fine sand grains that will eventually become tropical beaches. Imagine that. The sand beneath someone's feet on a distant shore may once have been coral rock, shaped by the mouth of a single fish. This transformation, stone to sand, is not destructive, but renewing, a cycle of quiet recycling that keeps the reef breathing and evolving. In the spaces between coral branches, you find pockets of still water, where the current barely moves, creating tiny sanctuaries of calm. Here, miniature organisms drift slowly, sheltered from larger predators by the maze-like architecture of the reef. These hidden chambers feel like quiet rooms within a living palace, hushed spaces where life can rest rather than struggle. The ocean, often imagined as wild and unpredictable, shows here its gentlest face, providing not only motion, but refuge. And through it all, the reef communicates without sound, only with presence. It does not demand attention or admiration. It simply exists in serene collaboration with water, light, and time. To envision a coral reef is to envision nature's ability to build beauty through patience and community. Thousands of tiny beings adding to something they may never see completed, creating a world that will outlive them in silence. Among the coral branches drift gentle clouds of plankton, microscopic beings that float in quiet suspension, like dust motes in a sunbeam beneath the sea. These tiny creatures form the foundation of countless food chains, yet they move without haste, carried by the softest currents. Their presence gives the surrounding water a faint, hazy quality, turning the reef into an underwater meadow filled with drifting particles of life. Observing their slow motion feels like watching time itself populate the sea, one tiny, drifting breath at a time. The reef also provides a home for creatures that hide within its crevices. Shy shrimp with transparent shells, tiny crabs that emerge only at dusk, and small octopuses that shift their skin to match the coral's texture. Their behavior is careful, deliberate, measured, not frantic, but mindful. These quiet residents rely on the reef's shelter, like monks retreating into carved alcoves of stone. Each of them carries a rhythm of movement that reflects the calm of the environment, as though the reef itself teaches patience to all who dwell within it. Water temperature in reef environments remains remarkably stable, warmed by tropical sun and moderated by gentle circulation. This stability forms a cocoon of comfort around the reef, where abrupt changes are softened by oceanic buffering. The water cradles life in its mild embrace, neither chilling nor scalding, but maintaining a tenderness akin to a perpetual warm twilight. In such conditions, life does not merely survive. It relaxes into being, held by the ocean as gently as a child held in arms. Over centuries, coral reefs grow into shapes that resemble forests, castles, or intricate honeycombs, with peaks and channels, pillars, and caverns. These structures seem designed not just for survival, but for beauty, as if the reef carries an unconscious artistic instinct written into its growth. The patterns are mesmerizing fractal repetitions, unfolding in natural symmetry, reflecting the underlying mathematics of life. Gazing at these formations gives a sense of living intelligence in nature, a quiet, unspoken wisdom that shapes worlds. The sounds near coral reefs are muted by water, everything gentler than on land. Fish brushing against coral, shrimp snapping faintly, distant rumble of waves, all of it arrives softened by the water's density. The result is a soundscape of whispers rather than clatter. It is the opposite of urban noise. Here, sound dissolves rather than accumulates. To listen to the reef is to listen to softness, a continuity of quiet that soothes the nervous system and invites the mind into deeper stillness. At certain times of year, many corals simultaneously release clouds of tiny eggs and sperm into the water in a synchronized spawning event. This collective release looks like an underwater snowfall of soft, drifting particles. The ocean becomes filled with floating life potential, spreading gently with the currents. There is no rush, no explosion, just a peaceful dispersion of future colonies into quiet water. It is a moment of communal continuity, life renewing itself through calm release. Colorful fish, like angelfish, butterflyfish, and surgeonfish, move through the reef with a gliding, almost weightless grace. Their fluid motions reflect a lack of resistance, as though they swim not through water, but through warm dreams. Their colors are vibrant in daylight, yet softened by seawater into shades that comfort rather than shock. Watching them pass is like watching ribbons or silk drift in slow air, an underwater choreography of elegance and ease. Sponges, often overlooked, carpet parts of the reef with their porous forms, filtering enormous volumes of water every day. They draw water in and push it out in a quiet respiratory cycle, cleaning the surrounding seawater through their own slow metabolism. These ancient organisms, older than coral, are the silent caretakers of purity. Their constant filtration ensures that water around reefs remains clear and healthy, turning the entire ecosystem into a softly breathing organism. Sea anemones, anchored like flowers to coral rock, extend their delicate tentacles outward, swaying like petals in unseen wind. Small fish, especially clownfish, nestle among them, protected by a biological bond that renders them immune to the anemone's stinging cells. This relationship feels like a lullaby of biology, a trust formed between species, a gentle coexistence that speaks to the kindness hidden in nature's design. Above the reef, waves break into gentle ripples as they reach shallower depths. The rhythm of these waves is the heartbeat of the ocean, steady, circular, timeless. They carry oxygen to the reef, nourish the coral polyps, and refresh the ecosystem through their endless movement. This wave-borne breathing is slow and dependable, like inhale and exhale writ large across an entire seascape. To imagine lying beneath that rhythm is to imagine being rocked by the ocean itself. Sea turtles are gentle visitors to coral reefs, gliding through channels with effortless dignity. Their movement through the water seems to disregard effort entirely. Each stroke of their flippers is slow, measured, and rhythmic. They pause at coral edges to nibble on algae or rest among rock shadows, as comfortable in water as a bird is in air. Watching them gives a sense of ancient peace, as though these creatures carry with them the quiet wisdom of millions of years on Earth, swimming not with urgency, but with memory. Coral reefs are often referred to as the rainforests of the sea, not only because of their biological richness, but because they create vertical and horizontal living space in 3 dimensions. From the sandy floor to the branching tops, every layer hosts different species adapted to precise elevations of light and shadow, current and concealment. This stratified habitat is a living symphony of positions, a kingdom of niches, where every organism finds its exact place in the quiet puzzle of life. Over time, reefs serve as foundations for entire islands. Broken coral, sand produced by parrotfish, and other calcareous debris accumulate into shallow platforms that eventually rise above sea level. Palms root, birds arrive, seeds travel, and gradually a landmass with trees and soil forms land literally birthed by the sea. So when someone walks along a pristine tropical beach, they walk upon the geological legacy of coral, a slow build of material shaped by patient marine communities. Some corals create structures that resemble branching trees or blooming flowers, delicate frames that maximize surface area for sunlight and feeding. These shapes are not random. They are responsive to water flow, currents, and light exposure. Their branching patterns create microcurrents that draw nutrient-rich water into their polyps. The reef feels intelligent in its design, not conscious, but evolutionary, sculpted by generations of life, finding optimal ways to thrive with minimal waste and maximal grace. Within coral sand and cavities live tiny creatures called copepods and amphipods, minuscule crustaceans that hop and dart like underwater insects. Their movements are small but joyful, contributing to the reef's subtle kinetic energy. They feed on detritus and plankton, recycling nutrients that would otherwise sink into sediment. Their hidden work acts like the quiet housekeeping of the reef, ensuring cleanliness and continuity without fanfare. Octopuses that inhabit coral reefs are masters of camouflage, capable of changing color, skin texture, and even posture in mere moments. But unlike predatory stealth on land, their transformations beneath water feel strangely poetic, the octopus becoming coral, then shadow, then moving stone. There is beauty in this adaptive invisibility, a fluid identity that mirrors the reef's shifting light and surfaces. They embody the art of disappearing with calm precision. Starfish and brittle stars move slowly across coral surfaces, their arms trailing along textured rock like fingers brushing piano keys. Their motion is nearly imperceptible, a creeping exploration that feels contemplative rather than predatory. They graze gently on organic residue, contributing to the quiet maintenance of the reef's surfaces. These slow creatures introduce a sense of time dilation, reminding the observer that a day beneath the reef does not feel like a day above it. The water around coral reefs is infused with oxygen thanks to the photosynthesis of symbiotic algae living within coral tissues. This invisible gift of breath permeates the water, making the reef's environment feel alive, not only in sight, but in purity. It is as though the reef exhales energy into the surrounding world, providing the very essence needed for other marine lives to thrive. The ocean in these regions feels awake, refreshed, and clear. Reef fish often congregate in mixed species schools that move in unified, swirling motions that resemble silk twisting in a slow breeze. Their synchronized dance is not led by a single leader, but by collective instinct, each fish reading the subtle cues of its neighbors. This creates flowing clouds of life that expand, compress, and drift, as though the ocean were composing its own soft music in motion form. The structural complexity of coral reefs forms thousands of tiny passageways and tunnels, which larger predators cannot navigate. This gives smaller creatures a sanctuary where they can slip away into darkness and rest without fear. This gentle architecture of refuge makes the reef feel safe, a protective labyrinth where vulnerability is minimized by design. It is a reminder that nature builds not only spaces for beauty, but spaces for peace. There are moments when sunlight on the surface of the ocean creates gentle ripples that cast moving patterns of brightness and shadow across the reef below. These rippling light bands, known as underwater caustics, drift across coral shapes like slow, luminous brush strokes. They paint the reef with softly shifting stripes that bend and stretch with every passing wave above. Watching these light patterns move is hypnotic, like watching silk banners sway in a wind. You cannot feel an endless, slow ballet between sunlight and water that turns the reef into a living painting. Some coral reefs emit faint chemical signals that attract fish and small creatures, creating subtle, invisible communication in the water. These signals help species find spawning grounds, navigate the reef, and locate food sources. This chemical language is ancient and instinctual, floating through water currents like soundless whispers. The fish do not analyze or think, they simply know where to swim, guided by a guidance older than thought. It is a sensory map of peace and cooperation. Many corals rely on a partnership with tiny algae called zooxanthellae, which live inside their tissues. These algae provide color and nourishment through photosynthesis, turning sunlight into sustenance. In return, the coral provides shelter. This partnership is like a quiet marriage of biology, one being transforming light into life, the other building the shelter to house that miracle. It is a perfect exchange of gifts, complete and balanced, written into the very foundation of the reef's existence. Giant clams embedded in the reef lie open like luminous shells, displaying interiors lined with iridescent blues and greens. They sit unmoving, quietly filtering water for nutrients, their bodies heavy and anchored. Yet inside, vibrant patterns shift slightly, pulsing with soft intensity. They seem like living gemstones, as though the ocean itself had carved jewels out of muscle and shell. Their presence adds a regal stillness to the reef, weighty, patient, dignified. Moray eels inhabit deeper holes in the coral, their long bodies hidden, except for a curious head emerging from a crevice. They open and close their mouths rhythmically, not as a threat, but as a way of breathing circulating water across their gills. Their motion resembles a slow, calming, yawning pattern, inhaling, exhaling, repeating. Many divers feel unexpectedly soothed by this cycling motion, like watching a pendulum swing at the bottom of the sea. The reef floor is often covered by seagrass meadows that sway like fields of underwater wheat. Their long blades move with such fluid gentleness that even the softest current sets them into motion. Small fish dart between blades, seeking comfort and shade. The grasses themselves oxygenate the water and hold sediment firmly in place, preventing erosion. They act like quiet custodians, preserving clarity, anchoring the sand, forming a gentle base beneath the coral kingdom. As waves pass overhead, the pressure change creates a subtle, pulsing sensation throughout the reef environment. This ocean heartbeat passes through coral skeletons, across sand, and into fish bodies, connecting everything in a rhythmical flow. The reef does not fight the energy of the waves. It moves with them. This sync of motion and being instills a deep tranquility, like the entire underwater world breathing together in slow synchrony. The presence of coral reefs softens tides and wave energy, acting as natural breakwaters that protect coastline from erosion. They absorb the force of impact with softness rather than rigidity, diffusing the power of crashing waves into gentle dispersal. This protective effect is silent and unseen, No dramatic barrier rises from the sea, only a garden of rock-like organisms calming the ocean's force through quiet resistance. Microorganisms on the reef participate in decomposition and recycling, converting dead material back into usable nutrients. They break down remains with meticulous subtlety, working invisibly within cracks and sediments. This microscopic labor sustains the balance of life in the reef, ensuring that nothing goes to waste. The reef has no excess, no garbage, only circulation, digestion, renewal, a slow cycle that supports continual calm existence. And perhaps the most peaceful truth is that coral reefs are places of ancient continuity. Many reefs began forming thousands or even millions of years ago, slowly accumulating layer upon layer of growth into vast underwater structures. Their very existence is a testament to patience. To imagine a reef's long life, its endurance through shifting climates and ages, is to realize that calm is not weakness, and slowness is not stagnation. In the reef, stillness builds strength. Along the edges of coral formations, you may see soft, waving forms of sea fans, branching structures that resemble delicate trees or lace made of living tissue. These fans hold their broad surfaces towards the current, filtering microscopic nourishment from the passing water. They flutter gently, not with haste, but with the unhurried grace of silk undulating in a slow wind. Their presence adds a quiet sense of motion to the reef, like a forest of underwater leaves responding to a hidden breath. Many fish adopt specific cleaning stations on the reef, where smaller, cleaner fish gently remove parasites and dead skin from their bodies. Larger fish approach these stations with calm submission, hovering still as their tiny counterparts perform their meticulous service. There is trust in this interaction, a quiet covenant between species. It is a moment of vulnerability and care, where life beneath the sea expresses tenderness not through emotion, but through instinctive cooperation. Coral reefs host an astonishing range of colors, not only in fish and invertebrates, but in the corals themselves. Some corals shimmer faintly in hues of lavender, peach, ivory, and sage. Others pulse with fluorescent greens and blues, intensified beneath moonless water. This palette, softened by depth and filtered light, creates an atmosphere of calm dreamscape, more than vivid spectacle. The reef is not a carnival of color. It is a watercolor painting, blurred gently by the medium of the sea. Certain species of reef fish change color as they mature, gradually shifting from one shade to another over months or years. This slow transformation feels like a quiet passage through time, reflected on their skin. To witness such changes is to see identity itself expanding and evolving in soft increments, a journey of becoming that requires no rush, no turbulence, only steady growth. Large brain corals form immense mounds whose surfaces resemble the folds of a sleeping mind. Their grooves and channels twist in recursive patterns, looking almost like the surface of a dream captured in stone. These corals grow extremely slowly, sometimes only millimeters per year, making their massive structures embodiments of patience. They are monuments to quiet persistence, sculpted not by ambition, but by life's simple, steady continuation. In the quiet hours just before dawn, certain nocturnal reef creatures retreat to hidden spaces, eels to caves, shrimp to burrows, octopuses to shadowed crevices. At the same time, daytime creatures begin to stir, emerging into the slowly brightening water. This transition hour is seamless. The reef does not experience abrupt shift, but gentle succession. Night hands its silence to day, and day hands its colors to night, in an eternal exchange of roles that never disturbs the peace. Floating above the reef are jellyfish, translucent bodies that pulse with slow contractions. Their movements are so effortless that they seem to drift rather than swim, like lanterns suspended in water. They do not chase or flee. They simply exist, following currents with serene surrender. Their tissues glow faintly in sunlight, giving them a ghost-like purity. Their presence adds a sense of softness to the scene, as though thoughts and living forms have become nearly weightless. Some fish form lifelong monogamous bonds, pairs that remain together among coral branches, swimming in tandem and resting side by side. Their companionship is silent and steady, expressed through proximity rather than display. Watching them navigate the reef together, never straying far from one another, evokes a tender warmth. The ocean, often imagined as harsh, reveals gentleness in these small, enduring partnerships. Reef currents are rarely harsh. They move with the softness of breath, carrying gentle streams of warm water through coral channels. These currents deliver nutrients, oxygen, and temperature stability, enfolding the reef in an ever-flowing circulation. The water does not push or pull aggressively. It simply glides through, maintaining life with effortless touch. Inside this embrace, every organism feels connected through the same slow pulse of movement. And perhaps one of the most soothing realizations is that coral reefs are shaped by cooperation across generations. No single coral, no single fish, no single sponge defines the structure. It's built through shared existence, each species performing quiet tasks that benefit the whole. The reef is a community in its purest form, formed not through competition, but through interdependence. In that harmony lies the core of its peace. Beneath the branching corals live small gobies, tiny fish that perch on coral tips as if resting on miniature balconies. They sit nearly motionless, gently waving their fins to maintain position, watching the currents pass like observers leaning over a railing to feel the breeze. Their stillness becomes part of the reef's tranquility, blending into the calm architecture like ornaments of living color. They remind us that not all life must be in constant motion. Some life simply is quietly present and at peace. In certain moments, when clouds cover the sun, the reef's colors dim into softer shades, and the entire underwater world becomes a muted realm of shadowed tranquility. Fish glide through dim water with even slower grace, and the coral structures appear like sculptures submerged in blue mist. The scene feels like a gentle pause, as if the reef has taken a slow breath inward and is holding it for a moment, letting silence settle deeper. In that subdued light, everything feels more thoughtful, more inward, more serene. Some coral species communicate distress or need through chemical signals that drift through the water. These messages are invisible, silent, and undetectable to human senses, yet they allow coral polyps to adapt, coordinate spawning, and warn one another of environmental stress. It is a language made of molecules, spoken with time and carried in currents. There is comfort in knowing that even the smallest beings beneath the surface support each other through relationships of quiet coordination. The reef also harbors hidden chambers, small caves, and arches carved by erosion and shaped by coral growth. These hollow spaces serve as gentle refuges where fish can sleep, where tiny crustaceans rest, where daylight is softened to the faintest bluish hint. Inside these enclosed spaces, the silence is even deeper, like an inner sanctum of the ocean. Resting there would feel like resting in a cathedral, underwater, wrapped in stillness and cool embrace. Sea cucumbers crawl slowly across the sand among coral bases, digesting organic matter and cleaning the ocean floor with steady intention. Their movement is neither quick nor expressive, but steady and committed a quiet maintenance that renews the seabed with every inch they cross. Their presence is humble and unnoticed, yet indispensable. They remind us that life's unseen caretakers often operate with the deepest calm. Some fish species, like damselfish, spend time tending to small patches of algae that they cultivate as gardens among the coral. They chase away other fish that graze too aggressively and subtly groom the growth for sustainable feeding. This gentle horticulture transforms the reef into a mosaic of underwater farms, tended not by fast minds, but by instinctive stewardship. These small acts of care shape the reef in ways that feel nurturing, thoughtful, and deeply peaceful. Even predators on the reef often move with quiet grace. Barracudas hover motionless in the water like suspended arrows, waiting and watching with unblinking eyes. Their stillness is complete, almost meditative. When movement comes, it is instantaneous, but the moments between hunts are composed of emptiness and quiet focus. They embody a kind of poised tranquility, a reminder that stillness can exist even within strength. Coral reefs create microhabitats with distinct conditions, areas of bright warmth, areas of cool shadow, pockets of still water, ribbons of flowing current. This variety allows different species to find their preferred zones, forming a layered ecosystem of comfortable niches. Each creature occupies its chosen space like a person selecting the perfect seat by a sunny window or a shaded corner. The reef is not just life, it is comfort arranged by nature into zones of rest. The coral polyps themselves often exist in colonies that share a single nervous network, responding together like one organism. A touch on one part of the colony can trigger contraction along its entire surface. This collective reaction is slow, gentle, and precise, a wave of movement that travels across the coral, like a fingertip tracing a line through velvet. It is coordination that feels serene, a unity of response without panic. And perhaps the most calming recognition is that coral reefs exist in a space where gravity is softened. Buoyancy lifts weight from bodies, bones lighten, muscles relax, and movement becomes effortless. Creatures are not pulled downward, but held gently by water, supported on all sides. It is an existence of ease, a world where nothing falls but only floats, and where life, even in constant motion, feels like drifting in a dream of eternal calm. Beneath the branching corals live small gobies, tiny fish that perch on coral tips as if resting on miniature balconies. They sit nearly motionless, gently waving their fins to maintain position. watching the currents pass like observers, leaning over a railing to feel the breeze. Their stillness becomes part of the reef's tranquility, blending into the calm architecture like ornaments of living color. They remind us that not all life must be in constant motion. Some life simply is quietly present and at peace. In certain moments, when clouds cover the sun, the reef's colors dim into softer shades, and the entire underwater world becomes a muted realm of shadowed tranquility. Fish glide through dim water with even slower grace, and the coral structures appear like sculptures submerged in blue mist. The scene feels like a gentle pause, as if the reef has taken a slow breath inward and is holding it for a moment, letting silence settle deeper. In that subdued light, everything feels more thoughtful, more inward, more serene. Some coral species communicate distress or need through chemical signals that drift through the water. These messages are invisible, silent, and undetectable to human senses, yet they allow coral polyps to adapt, coordinate spawning, and warn one another of environmental stress. It is a language made of molecules, spoken with time and carried in currents. There is comfort in knowing that even the smallest beings beneath the surface support each other through relationships of quiet coordination. The reef also harbors hidden chambers, small caves and arches carved by erosion and shaped by coral growth. These hollow spaces serve as gentle refuges where fish can sleep, where tiny crustaceans rest, where daylight is softened to the faintest bluish hint. Inside these enclosed spaces, the silence is even deeper than, like an inner sanctum of the ocean. Resting there would feel like resting in a cathedral, underwater wrapped in stillness and cool embrace. Sea cucumbers crawl slowly across the sand among coral bases, digesting organic matter and cleaning the ocean floor with steady intention. Their movement is neither quick nor expressive, but steady and committed to quiet maintenance that renews the seabed with every inch they cross. Their presence is humble and unnoticed, yet indispensable. They remind us that life's unseen caretakers often operate with the deepest calm. Some fish species, like damselfish, spend time tending to small patches of algae that they cultivate as gardens among the coral. They chase away other fish that graze too aggressively and subtly groom the growth for sustainable feeding. This gentle horticulture transforms the reef into a mosaic of underwater farms, tended not by fast minds, but by instinctive stewardship. These small acts of care shape the reef in ways that feel nurturing, thoughtful, and deeply peaceful. Even predators on the reef often move with quiet grace. Barracudas hover motionless in the water like suspended arrows, waiting and watching with unblinking eyes. Their stillness is complete, almost meditative. When movement comes, it is instantaneous, but the moments between hunts are composed of emptiness and quiet focus. They embody a kind of poised tranquility, a reminder that stillness can exist even within strength. Coral reefs create microhabitats with distinct conditions, areas of bright warmth, areas of cool shadow, pockets of still water, ribbons of flowing current. This variety allows different species to find their preferred zones, forming a layered ecosystem of comfortable niches. Each creature occupies its chosen space like a person, selecting the perfect seat by a sunny window or a shaded corner. The reef is not just life, it is comfort, arranged by nature into zones of rest. The coral polyps themselves often exist in colonies that share a single nervous network, responding together like one organism. A touch on one part of the colony can trigger contraction along its entire surface. This collective reaction is slow, gentle, and precise. A wave of movement that travels across the coral like a fingertip tracing a line through velvet. It is coordination that feels serene, a unity of response without panic. And perhaps the most calming recognition is that coral reefs exist in a space where gravity is softened. Buoyancy lifts weight from bodies, bones lighten, muscles relax, and movement becomes effortless. Creatures are not pulled downward, but held gently by water, supported on all sides. It is an existence of ease, a world where nothing falls, but only floats, and where life, even in constant motion, feels like drifting in a dream of eternal calm. There are times when the reef truly sleeps more deeply than usual, as currents slow and plankton settle in the water, like tiny suspended snowflakes. In this slow state, the entire reef seems to drift into a deeper phase of restfulness. Coral tentacles retract. Fish cease movement almost completely, and the water around them becomes nearly motionless. It feels as though the ocean itself has paused, holding its breath in reverence. If you were there in that silent moment, you would feel the weight of quietness settle over you like a soft blanket, wrapping the reef in stillness and dreams. Some coral reefs form near volcanic islands where mineral-rich waters seep from the earth below. These minerals enrich microorganisms and stimulate subtle waves of biological activity, feeding invisible chains of nutrient exchange. The reef responds slowly, gently adjusting to the chemistry. In these places, the ocean floor holds warmth from deep beneath the planet, creating pockets of slightly warmer water that drift across the reef like small thermal sighs. These underwater exhalations feel comforting, ancient, and grounding like the Earth's own heartbeat, reaching into the sea. The coral reef at night can be so quiet that the only sensations are subtle temperature changes and the faint vibrations of distant waves. In that darkness, bioluminescent creatures and fluorescent corals appear and disappear with delicate timing. Soft flashes of light emerge like quiet thoughts, blinking in and out of consciousness, illuminating patches of reef for a heartbeat before fading. The experience feels like floating beneath a sky of living stars, except the sky is below you, and the stars do not burn. They breathe. Within coral branches, small pipefish weave through narrow spaces with bodies as slender as strands of seaweed. Their movement is nearly invisible, blending with the delicate geometry of the reef. They resemble animated fragments of coral come to life. Their camouflage is not an attempt to vanish through fear, but an act of alignment. They become part of the reef's shape and rhythm. It feels as though the reef itself has grown these slender bodies to add motion to its stillness without disturbing its peace. Sound travels differently underwater, and within a coral reef, it becomes muted, softened into rounded waves that feel like slow pulses. When a distant whale sings or a dolphin clicks, the sound reaches the reef as a gentle vibration rather than a sharp tones. The reef absorbs sound and transforms it into sensation, a physical whisper that brushes against coral polyps and fish scales. It is a communication not of words, but of touch, the ocean, speaking through resonance rather than voice. Over thousands of years, coral reefs uplift and shift, rising closer to the surface or descending deeper, depending on sea level. This slow migration happens so gradually that even the reef itself cannot perceive it. It is Earth rearranging its underwater landscapes with immense patience. Generations of coral polyps build upon the skeletons of their ancestors, growing the reef upward the way forests reach toward light. This layering of life upon life creates a depth of continuity where past and present coexist, living coral touching ancient coral, all part of one long breath of time. Certain corals form massive circular structures that resemble underwater amphitheaters, curved stone rings where fish congregate as if participating in quiet gatherings. The shape influences current patterns and provides protective flow and natural acoustic dampening. The result is an underwater space that truly feels architectural, like an ancient temple built by the ocean. Entering this formation feels like stepping into a sanctuary, a sacred hollow where even water seems to move more respectfully. Some crustaceans, like cleaner shrimp, perform gentle grooming for fish that seek their care. They climb over fins and gills with delicate precision, removing parasites in a way that seems affectionate. The fish remains still, trusting and surrendering. This exchange is almost ceremonial, a cleansing ritual that sustains the health of both. Watching it evokes a deep sense of quiet tenderness, the kind of mutual aid that feels like kindness made into movement. The reef also shelters memory in its very structure, fossilized corals preserved within living layers, ancient shapes encased in modern growth. These fossils reveal the outlines of corals that lived long before humanity evolved silent imprints of vanished colonies. The living reef carries these relics as part of its very skeleton, a record of endurance and lineage. It is nature remembering itself through stone and tissue, across epochs measured not in centuries, but in lifetimes of countless polyps. And perhaps the most tranquil truth of coral reefs is the pervasive sense of weightlessness that exists there, not only for animals, but for thoughts. Burdens dissolve in water. Movement is buoyed. Edges soften. In the presence of coral, existence feels lighter, as though the mind itself floats. In this underwater world, gravity steps aside, and everything from fish to feeling drifts. There are places on the reef where warm tropical currents brush gently against cooler deep-water flows, creating subtle layers of comfort and chill that stack upon one another like invisible blankets. Fish instinctively choose the band of water that best suits their bodies, moving up or down just a few inches to find perfect equilibrium. This thermal layering gives the reef an almost spa-like quality, a world of gentle gradients where each life form finds its ideal temperature, supported by the ocean's quiet adjustments. In the calm shallows above coral gardens, the surface of the water ripples into a silver mirror, reflecting the corals below as softly blurred shapes. When you look up from within the reef, the surface seems thin, fragile, like a shimmering membrane separating two worlds. It looks so delicate that you might believe you could simply drift upward and slip through that mirror into air. The boundary between ocean and sky becomes a soft, temporary film, permeable to light, yet cradling the silence of the underwater sanctuary. seahorses cling to branching coral with prehensile tails, swaying slowly with the motion of water. Their bodies seem too delicate to belong to reality, like living ornaments drifting among branches. They do not dart or even swim much. They float, pivot, and hover. Their stillness is a kind of prayer, quiet, observant, and gentle. It is as though they are meditating with their eyes open, absorbing the calm of the reef into their tiny, patient hearts. When moonlight falls upon the ocean at night, its glow filters downward in soft shafts, illuminating the reef in pale, ghostly radiance. The corals and fish beneath appear bathed in dreamlight, as if the moon were quietly visiting the underworld. The scene loses all definition. Edges blur, colors melt into blue-gray hues, and shadows soften into watercolor depths. The reef at midnight becomes a place of hushed enchantment, where the ordinary is transformed into the quietly otherworldly. Parrotfish, after feeding and drifting through the reef all day, surround themselves with a protective cocoon of mucus at night. This invisible shield masks their scent from predators while they sleep. The idea of a fish making itself a silk-like sleeping bag from its own body is somehow comforting, a gentle self-protection done in complete silence. They float within their handmade bubble, dreaming in safety, untouched by the night's uncertainties. Sometimes, slow underwater eddies gather bits of decaying organic matter and roll them gently across the seafloor, like soft ocean tumbleweeds. These small clusters of particles drift in lazy loops, carried by a circular motion. Nothing moves them with force. They simply rotate with ease, showing that even decomposition, the quiet breakdown of things, occurs with grace, with softness, with unhurried transformation in the calm rhythms of the reef. The coral reef hosts countless interactions, invisible to most eyes: bacterial exchanges, microbial symbioses, nutrient transfers that occur on scales too small to perceive. These exchanges are silent commerce, the reef's microscopic economy. There is something reassuring in this unseen harmony, life thriving on levels beyond awareness, forming an interconnected web of help and sustenance. It is a complexity of the highest order, wrapped in silence. There are coral species that build long, finger-like structures, reaching into water, like frozen flames. These fingers provide narrow alleyways for tiny fish to slip through, creating corridors of safety. The landscape they form feels like a maze of living softness, a network of miniature passageways where motion exists only in quiet whispers. Swimming through such architecture would feel like drifting through a dream of gentle pillars. Crustaceans, like decorator crabs, adorn their shells with bits of coral and algae, blending with their surroundings with creative flair. They do not just hide, they design. They choose fragments of reef that mirror their environment, becoming moving extensions of the coral itself. This behavior carries a strange artistry, these small beings crafting wearable camouflage like muted, living garments. Their instinctive craftsmanship turns survival into an act of subtle expression. And the most soothing truth of the reef is how time behaves differently here. In the world above, time is measured in schedules and seconds. Underwater, time unfolds in currents and tides. It stretches and slows. Minutes dissolve into timelessness. The reef operates on its own clock, one set by the moon, the warmth of the sunlit surface, and the breath of water. In this place, time is not chased. It is floated upon. There are deep recesses within the reef, where light seldom reaches cool alcoves, where shadows gather in gentle concentration. In these shaded hollows, life slows even further. Fish enter these pockets of shadow to rest, drifting in barely perceptible motion. There is a sense of protected calm there, as though the reef itself is offering sanctuary, a quiet chamber, carved not by hands, but by time and water. Within these calm hollows, the ocean feels as still as a held breath. Some species of coral expand only during the quiet hours of night, blooming into soft forms that resemble miniature flowers or delicate, translucent arms. During the day, they remain retracted, hidden, almost skeletal, but as darkness arrives, they unfold with elegance, presenting themselves fully to the sea. This cyclic blooming feels like a nocturnal exhalation, a nightly ritual of opening and receiving. The reef transforms at night, not through noise or speed, but through unhurried metamorphosis. Many reef creatures rely on symbiosis, intimate partnerships, where one life nurtures another. Anemones shelter protective clownfish. Clownfish chase away stinging intruders. Corals host light harvesting algae. Algae feed the coral with sugars. These reciprocities exist without thought or intention. They are simply the laws of living together. In this cooperative choreography, survival becomes collaboration, and existence becomes shared. The reef is not merely a habitat. It is a web of quiet alliances. There are zones on the reef where ancient coral structures have died and left behind skeletal frameworks of stone-like calcium carbonate. Yet these remnants are not barren. New life attaches to them, repurposing the old shapes. Tiny coral larvae settle on their surfaces and begin building anew. Life grows from life, like ink spreading through parchment. The reef regenerates itself continuously, layering generations in soft geological time. Creation and memory coexist in every ridge. Occasionally, schools of fish move through the reef in coordinated waves, hundreds of bodies shifting direction as if commanded by one thought. This unified motion is mesmerizing. A single organism made of many. The shifting silver bodies catch light like sequins in motion, creating a slow-moving shimmer that glides through coral passageways. The beauty lies not in spectacle, but in harmony, collective movement, guided by instinctual unity. In the weightlessness of underwater life, creatures experience the sensation of perpetual suspension, neither fully rising nor falling. Even when they descend, it is a gentle, gliding descent. Even when they climb, it is a drifting ascent. This continual buoyancy gives a softness to existence. Even effort feels eased. To watch it is to imagine what it might be like to live free from gravity's insistence, supported by a medium that softens every motion. The reef also preserves sound in subtle ways. Some areas reflect and absorb acoustics, so that even small noises, the scrape of a crab's claw or the whispering click of shrimp, become amplified and softened at once. These tiny sounds blend into a gentle underwater static, like a distant hum that cradles the senses. It creates a natural white noise, one that soothes minds into quiet restfulness. There are corals that resemble branching trees, some that look like rolling boulders, others like plates and domes, each shape engineered by evolution to capture light, withstand current, or maximize oxygen flow. Yet the resulting effect feels less like engineering and more like sculpture, a vast gallery of organic forms shaped by patience and physics. The reef feels like an art installation curated by nature across millennia. Certain turtles visit reefs to graze on algae and rest among coral structures. Their unhurried movements and wise, ancient expressions add a dignified calm to the scene. When they sleep, they tuck themselves beneath ledges and remain entirely still for hours. Their presence feels like a blessing, a reminder that life can be peaceful, unhurried, and enduring. And perhaps the final truth to carry with you is this: the reef is a place of softness, meeting structure, movement, meeting stillness, light, meeting shadow. It is life expressed through gentleness, a world that thrives, not by force, but by balance, surrender, and harmony. In its quiet rhythms, the reef whispers an invitation to breathe slower, to let go, to drift into calm. As our quiet time beneath the surface comes to an end, take one last drifting moment with the reef. Imagine the water gently holding you. Imagine the soft light dimming, and picture all the colors slowly blending into calm blue. The coral world continues in silence. Polyps breathing, currents gliding, rays sweeping their wings, and tiny fish resting in their coral cradles, all of it continuing in patient, peaceful rhythm long after we depart. In this quiet sanctuary, nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. The reef teaches us that life can expand gently, that growth can be unhurried, that beauty can exist softly. It reminds us that strength can be tender, and endurance can be quiet. The ocean does not ask us to conquer it, only to respect it, to float with it, to feel its embrace. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself floating weightlessly above the coral, supported on all sides, held by water and night. Let your thoughts loosen like sand stirred by a small wave. Let concerns dissolve like salt returning to sea. Let your breath fall into the same slow rhythm as the tide. Thank you for joining the Sleepy Scientist tonight. If this gentle journey brought you peace, consider subscribing so you can join us again for more soft explorations of our world and our universe, where knowledge arrives like a lullaby, and every fact becomes a quiet step toward rest. Until next time, may your dreams be calm, your sleep be deep, and your mind drift like a feather in water. Good night.